Last week, I had the opportunity to write an op-ed in NJ Spotlight highlighting 9 critical questions that must be answered in order to open our schools safely for the fall. Just yesterday at the press conference, Governor Murphy stated now is the time for all schools to meaningfully move forward with a return to in-person instruction, whether it be full-time or with a hybrid schedule. And he went on to say that we have an obsession with getting our schools back in person in some form as soon as possible, as soon as we can do that responsibly. And while we have that strong desire to reopen our schools, we must remember that yesterday there was over 3,500 cases in New Jersey. And on the first day of school, we had 284. So for the 116,000 school teachers, the tens of thousands of additional support staff, the 1.4 million school children in public schools in New Jersey that are, I think back and I look at this last year, we shuttered our district on March 13th, where we closed. We reopened on September 8th. We've been able to maintain open with clear health and safety guidelines focused on the health and safety and wellness of our school community, our students, our staff. And we've been able to stay open for the families that selected to come in a hybrid model with over 6,000 involved in a virtual model. I would say that on Tuesday, I had the opportunity to speak with some of the representatives on this call and hear from them. And some of the questions that were being asked by the business community are some of the exact questions and guidance that schools are seeking. Listening to those leaders asking for clear health guidance and regulations, clarity on capacity limits for indoor and outdoor events, guidance on social distancing requirements, and the inconsistent and ever-changing health guidance are all challenges that we in the education field say, and I could have been sitting in a county roundtable meeting with superintendents having the exact same conversation that we had on Tuesday. As we think about the guidance received, it's fruitless to look backwards, so we need to look forward with clarity and direction. And so what I would say with respect to opening now, not opening the fall, the 9 questions were really about the fall. If the governor and members of the legislature, local leaders really want our schools to open now, we have to prioritize educator vaccination. And when we're talking about educators, I'm not just talking about our teachers. We need to talk about our instructional aides, our bus drivers, our secretaries, our guidance counselors, our custodians and building and ground staff, our therapists and food service workers, individuals that work within the industry, but maybe not employed by the district. Again, outside contractors and providers, food service providers and building and bus contractors. We need the vaccination support immediately. We've been asking for a coordinated approach to this for weeks, if not months. And to date, there is no coordinated plan at the state level to consider educators. Secondly, we need clarification on social distancing requirements. We've been asking for this for quite some time. We understand the CDC is in constant conversations about this currently, about moving off the 6-foot recommendations. We need rules that don't say things like if possible or to the extent possible. We need clarity around what is allowed. Third, we must recognize that every community is different and communities have been disproportionately impacted by COVID. We also know that communities' infrastructure and school systems is very different and funding is very different. So we have to make sure that we're cognizant of the specific needs of communities. We allowed over 600 school districts to do essentially figure it out for themselves. And now to try to back that out is going to take some time. But we need clarity specifically for the fall. And we need to make specific steps right now to get our staff back. If you think of it like this, if every educator in the next 2 weeks got the J&J vaccine time to spring break, you could have your kids back by mid-April, right? With 3 weeks post-vaccine. There is no reason that we're not taking a strategic approach to this right now. In fact, we should have been doing this for the last several weeks. So we need to prioritize that. One is going to eliminate the fear of educators coming back in person. There are tremendous challenges in school communities. And again, I represent over 100 different districts at Garden State Coalition. So I'm not just here representing WWP. When I talk about this, we're talking about there are challenges within unions and labor organizations, and our educators are asking for vaccination as a consideration of return. And that's happening in many communities. It's I think the least we can do right now and try to figure that out for the adults that work within the schools. As we're talking about the fall, we need some guidance specifically to parental choice. Is that going to be something what we can do with respect to return? And that's going to be a question that's out there. We need to know about the social distancing, not just for our classrooms, but also for our buses, as the capacity limits on buses is currently recommended at 11. The frameworks that we talk about for the 21-22 school year happen now. Our budgets, our staffing, our master schedules happen now for the fall. We are literally building our high school schedule starting next week. So to not have guidance for that is just infuriating. Next year has already begun from the perspective of how we organize our school systems, and school budgets and guidance and schedules all happen now. So for our students, for our parents, for our educators, for our business community, we need to know the anticipated rules for the 21-22 school year, and we're asking for a responsible opening.